Much of what you know about psychology may be a lie. There are a dozen pop psychology myths that have given people a false sense of understanding. Here is a list of some widely believed myths in psychology. Number 1. Opposites attract and make better partners. It's a myth that when dating, you're likely to be attracted to people who are very different from you. A lot of research shows that the opposite is true. We are drawn to potential partners who are similar to us. Not only that, but the similarity is also an indicator of long-term relationship success, because similar people typically agree on more things and share the same communication preferences. This does not mean that opposites cannot make good partners. It just means that the myth cannot be stated as a fact or believed to be true. Number 2, you are left-brained or right-brained. You've probably heard a highly creative person say they're right-brained, or an analytical person state they are left-brained. The idea that people have different dominant sides of their brain is false. Research shows that everyone uses both sides of their brain equally. Though most abilities are based in different regions of the brain, they can be carried out by the connections formed between different parts. Based on an individual's lifestyle, certain sections of the brain can become stronger because the brain has adapted to being under the same conditions for a prolonged time. Number 3, venting helps you overcome anger. As we have learned that suppressing emotions is harmful, a lot of people mistakenly believe that the fastest way to deal with anger is to yell, rant, and otherwise let it all out, / to vent out. Research shows that venting has the opposite effect than that intended. Rather than calming you down, venting positively reinforces your anger, causing you to become angrier for a longer period. Venting sometimes can be helpful. However, it is more about thinking of anger than processing it. Number 4, the average person only uses 10% of their brain capacity. This is a myth that was believed to be true in the mid to late 1800s, when researchers compared the learning abilities and accomplishments of a child prodigy to the average person who is far less intellectually stimulated. The myth remains popular because people use it to argue that by not pushing themselves to their intellectual limits and reaching their full potential, people are failing to use all of their brain power. Modern studies show that throughout the day, we use 100% of our brains. The important thing to note here is that it is throughout the entire day, not all at once. Given this, some people's lifestyles make their brains more active than others, but we all make use of our brain's abilities.
Oh my God,
active
wait.
than others.
Why does that look like my...
All at once. Given this...
That looks like I'm a college campus. I feel like I get it. But then again, a lot of college campuses look the same.
Some people's lifestyles make their brains more active than others, but we all make use of our brain's abilities. Number 5. Most people undergo a midlife crisis. It is assumed that people who hit their 40s would automatically undergo midlife crisis and would suddenly realize that their life isn't how they always wanted it to be, or they become terrified that their younger years are over. In reality, studies show that only about 10% of the population suffers a midlife crisis. Sure, humans undergo many challenges, but it is a myth that most people undergo a midlife crisis. Number 6. Human memory is like a recording of what happened. We all presume our memory is infallible and that we have recorded an event accurately. But the idea of memory as a reliable record of an event is a myth. Contrary to personal conviction, our memories are far from perfect replicas of events we have experienced. Even flashbulb memories of emotionally important or newsworthy events that seem to have a photographic quality change over time.
I'm assuming how that works is like your emotions affect how you remember things, right? Like sometimes you may forget or suppress some memories due to trauma, or maybe just wasn't a good memory in general. So I guess it does make sense, but I feel like most of the time it is correct.
Number 7. Crowds turn people stupid and dangerous.
What the fuck?
After a mass emergency, it's typical for reports to describe the crowd as violent and dangerous in a blind panic. There's an implication that we're in a large group, we lose our senses, and it's everyone for themselves. This is grossly refuted by psychology research, as studies show people in crowds experiencing a situation of emergency frequently stop to help one another. Crowds in emergencies can be trusted to behave in more social ways than previously expected by some involved in emergency planning. These are some common myths which people often take on face value and believe to be true. Thanks for watching. Here are some other